everyone, and welcome to your Diwali Bets. Over the next half hour, we will have our top technical and fundamental experts draw some light on what Samvat 2073 could look like and some crackling stock ideas so that your Diwali is bright and shining on the stock markets. So without any further ado, let's bring on board our in-house experts. Joining in on the fundamental side, we have with us Hemang Jani as well as Sandeep Sabharwal, and on the technical side with their expertise is Dr. C.K. Narayan, Kunal Bothra as well as Siddharth Bhamre. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. Here's wishing you all a very happy Diwali and a happy Diwali to all of our viewers. Let's start off by talking a little bit about the stock markets, and from last Samvat to this, it's been a pretty interesting ride for the index. In fact, we managed to conquer the 8950 mark as well on the Nifty. Dr. Narayan, I wanted to come to you first with what's going to be the next pivot that you'd be watching out for on the index.
Good evening and happy Diwali to all the viewers. Very clearly 9,000 is the pivot that all of us are watching, and all of us want that the index should overhaul that particular level, which would then set it on the path for further gains to be made. Now, of course, for this to happen, substantial amount of other events needs to happen also alongside, and hopefully we can look forward to all that across the next 1 year, because seemingly the stage seems to be set for several of those things to happen. We have more than excellent rains, we have things happening on the fundamental front. The government seems to be getting its act right. The prices have moved up pretty substantially and are holding their ground. There doesn't seem to be anything adverse news, and people are yet to get in and they are just warming up to the whole issue. So I think we can look forward to the next year with a great deal of expectation and expect that the 9,000 level will be overhauled.
Oh, that was a nice fundamental answer as well. So you're donning two hats today, Dr. Narayan. But, come in on that, Hemang. Is the stage set? Will we launch the rocket and, skyrocket above that 9,000 mark, you think?
Talking about the markets, I think the sentiment is definitely upbeat. But for a bigger rally from a 1 or 2 years perspective, what we need is strong earnings growth and a broader participation in terms of sectors. Because so far what we have seen is that certain pockets like auto, banks, NBFCs, they have been showing a lot of strength and people are able to see the revenue visibility. But we are yet to see a meaningful revenue growth from some of the other sectors like FMCG or maybe pharma. IT continues to be in some kind of a, stress. So we need a broader participation in terms of earnings growth. But in terms of the basic ingredients, lower interest rates, the reforms, those things are in place. So I think from a 1 year perspective, the overall view continues to remain quite positive.
Let's talk pure technicals then, Siddharth. And do you think that we have conquered the crucial levels that will lead us to take us higher from, the current levels that we're currently perched at? What does Samvat 2073 hold?
First of all, happy Diwali, Avan, and to all the viewers as well. Last Samvat to this Samvat, markets indices as per se has given less than 10% return. And I believe that going forward, when liquidity may not be so easy to come by, most of the central bankers are now not thinking of printing money. They are talking about, raising the interest rates. We won't have a scenario where liquidity would be easy. Sorry for adding, liquidity fundamental parameters, but when we talk about 1 year...
You've always stressed upon that when you look at your technical analysis.
Yes, because that's a factor which, drives our market. So in that balance, I believe we may not go significantly above 9,000 levels. Even if we breach that level, I think profit booking and some concerns or other would pull down markets. At the same time, I strongly believe that the floor is pretty much set around 8,200, 8,300 levels. So we would be yo-yoing in this range. Now within this range, the timing of entry and exit would matter. So there would be a lot of trading opportunities. And I believe there would be a lot of stock specific opportunities also in this range bound but volatile market with positive bias. So I am optimistic on market, but it won't be a one-way rally.
Okay, a little bit cautious, and I'm sure our viewers can't wait to get to those stock-specific ideas. That'll come up in just a bit. But Sandeep, you heard, two sides of the story. One is a little bit cautiously optimistic, and you have Dr. Narayan and Hemang talking about how we will breach the level of about 9,000 on the upside. Which side of the fence are you on?
I think best wishes to all the viewers of ET Now on the occasion of Diwali. I think the stage is set for prosperity in the country per se, with the bountiful rains, reforms, lower rates, lower inflation. So, I think and action on the ground on various infrastructure projects starting now. So, I think the country is in for prosperous times going forward, and when the country is in for prosperous times, it will get reflected in the stock markets. And what's going to add to that also is the fact that a lot of the alternative avenues of investment like real estate and gold are clearly out of favor given the kind of crackdown on black money. I think we are going to see more and more disinterest in those segments. So, equities becomes preferable, bond yields and fixed deposit rates are coming down. So, some shift might happen from there also. So, domestically things are good. We need to be positively inclined towards equities. In India, a lot of stories will play out because directionally interest rates will be lower, growth will pick up, and that's what people should be focused on.
We'll chat about which interest rate sensitive stocks look attractive, but Kunal, I want to understand from you. You had Sandeep who just said that the prosperity in the economy is here to stay. But let's talk banks, because that's a sector heavily contingent on what happens in the larger part of the economy. From last Samvat to this, it's gained in double digits, no doubt, but it's not a top outperformer. What's your sense for the bank Nifty?
Well, first of all, wishing everyone a very happy Diwali to you as well as to the ET Now viewers. I think first, before we discuss about banks, I think, one has to understand this last 7 months of this rally. I think it's been a ferocious bull. We've absorbed a lot of, negatives in terms of, whether it's Brexit, whether it's, to do with a lot of these global uncertainties as well. So, I think that's one of the most important aspects. When you have a bull which is extremely strong, it's probably, possible that that bull probably takes a rest for a couple of months before it goes forward as well. In terms of banks, I agree, Avan, that it's not been a full-fledged rally, but that doesn't happen generally when you see the indices coming out from a deep bout of pessimism. So yes, we've seen flashes of good recovery in PSU spaces. Private sector banks also, I think, selectively have done pretty well. But you see of late as well that many of these laggards have started to pick up and probably play that catch up. So I believe that the road forward would be extremely positive for the indices. It's just a matter of the markets probably taking that breather, whether it happens in pretty soon, probably by end of 2016, or whether it just trickles down to the first half of 2017. But yes, I think going forward, the next Diwali, I anticipate that the markets should reach that 9,000 mark as well, and you should see the markets soaring quite ferociously going forward.
What one can't really ignore also is the fact that the broader end of the market has stolen the show this time around. 20% plus returns among the likes of Biocon have seen triple-digit returns in the last 1 year. Vakarangi, Piramal Enterprises, just to name a few. Do you think that one should now be betting on the mid-caps?
I think mid-cap as a space, as you very rightly pointed out, has already done well, and because the performance is so good and you're not seeing any meaningful growth visibility in certain pockets of large cap, people are chasing the mid caps. But with the kind of momentum that we are seeing, the kind of ideas floating around, I think it's time to be a little cautious on the mid cap side, because the valuation comfort is missing. So I definitely think that at this point of time, one should be focusing more on the large cap wherever you find the value, where the growth visibility is still there.
Okay. Stay with us, gentlemen. We have so much more to chat about. When we come back on Your Diwali Bets, we'll get you top ideas for Samvat 2073 plus a dark horse idea from each of our experts. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We're in the dazzling ET Now studios. This is Your Diwali Bets, in conversation with our experts about Samvat 2073 and what the road ahead looks like. So let's find out which are the cracking stocks to keep on your radar. And I'd like to start off with you, Kunal. Run us through your top picks. What would you bet on?
Well, the 3 stocks I'm recommending today, Avan, especially for the entire year, the first one is about Engineers India. Now, I'm sensing that there is a very good chart pattern getting developed on the longer term time frame. The stock has been breaking its longer term trendline support, which is from 2010, and this is the first time when you're seeing very good signs in terms of volumes picking up over the last 1.5 odd year. So I would sense that probably this would be one of the few stocks, especially going forward, which can gain some very good trend and momentum. 350 is the target which I'm looking at on Engineers India. The second is a buy on Sterlite Tech. Once again a very good chart in terms of longer term time frame, a bullish flag pattern, a good breakout. The best part about the stock is in the last 1 month it's recovered from 75 to 100, 105 odd levels, and it's been having some very good volume patterns. It's broken out of a slew of longer term averages, so maybe a buy on dips would be an ideal strategy given the pace of the rally of late. But yes, I would be looking at targets closer to 160 on Sterlite Tech. And the third is a buy on Jain Irrigation. I think it's a exceedingly strong chart. Price action, the stock has been consistently making new highs, showing some very good chart indicators as well. I would look at a target of closer to 125 from a time frame of at least 6 months or so. Would would recommend Jain Irrigation as a long trade.
Okay, interesting mid-cap picks from Kunal. Hemang, what about you? What's on the radar from a slightly longer-term investment point of view?
Well, there are two ideas from a long-term investment perspective. The first one being L&T Finance and Holding. As we all know that NBFC as a space is in the limelight and there is a lot of growth visibility. So this company has actually adapted the business model in the last 1 quarter with a clear focus on the parameters like return on equity, scalability and a clear market advantage. And so they have identified 3 key areas for them: rural finance, housing finance and wholesale finance. So we think that given the opportunity in each of these spaces, the company can do exceedingly well. And the other part which the company has done very successfully is that they have reduced their B2B component quite sharply. So now the B2C component is almost about 80%, which used to be about 40 odd percent. So that will give a lot of stability and a higher margin advantage. So overall we are looking at about 20-22% kind of earnings growth for this company. It's currently available at about 2.3 time price to book, great legacy, good management in place. So I think from a 1 or 2 year perspective, it can easily give you a CAGR of 18-20%. And the second one is Z Entertainment. This stock has done actually pretty well in the last couple of years. Off late it has corrected a little, but given the positioning that it has in the media space today, with the kind of content and the kind of utilization of let's say content in NTV, and the fact that they have been able to retain the market share advantage despite the original programming hours being on a lower side, would mean that going forward they can actually scale that up big time. Plus they have done a major restructuring. They have got rid of that sports channel. They have recently acquired at about 1750 odd crore the radio FM plus the regional channel. So given the kind of distribution that it has and media being a big operating leverage play, I think Z could be a big winner in that particular theme. So we are looking at about 20-25% kind of an upside for a company like Z.
Yeah, and media was the second top sectoral gainer as well for this year. So Z Entertainment's tuning in to Hemang. But what about you, Dr. Narayan? What, according to you, on the charts looks appealing?
Well, when you are looking out for a year and trying to pick bets, then the most primary thing you want to look at is a strong trend which has to be in force and which you expect to continue. So the 3 picks that I have are all from that perspective. First up, Jamna Auto is one of the auto ancillary stocks which has very good, let's say, pedigree. It has a great market share. Its numbers have been excellent and the chart patterns have all only sort of resonated these set of findings. It's currently at about 225 and I see that strong trend which will probably continue and get into an acceleration mode once it gets past about 220, 225 zone. I would expect a target of about 350 in about a year's time by next Diwali or so. Stock which has been in a similar trend but just sort of warming up, I would say, is AI engineering. And what I like about AI engineering, aside from the fact that the pattern is so nice and very promising of substantial more gains, is the statement that they want to become one of the world's best players in the space that they are in. I think that is the kind of statements and ambition, and with the kind of follow-up action that they have shown so far, I do believe that the stock will easily surpass the the current highs around 1280 and probably head out to about 1600, 1700 in a year's time. So that makes it worthwhile. A third stock which I believe is from a space where there is a high level of interest is the housing finance sector, and therein I am picking LIC Housing, which is probably the second the single largest, probably behind HDFC. and LIC is still trading around 600 rupees in spite of having staged 2 sets of breakouts. But I think we are far from over, or we are just kind of warming up on that stock. My sense is that it should probably reach about 900 levels before the year is out. I think a lot of stronger players are gravitating towards LIC Housing Finance, and they would continue to do well across the next 1 year.
Sandeep, your cracker stock ideas?
So I think I will say that my theme for 2017 is on fallen angels kind of stocks. So there I am looking at 2 stocks. First is Jan Irrigation. Jan Irrigation is a company which actually was it was a very fancied stock a few years back. It ran into troubles related to receivables from the governments because of its model, and then it changed its model where it no longer sold via the government, it started selling directly. But when it started doing that, we had 2 back-to-back drought years. So I think that is past us. The company strategy is changed. It's deleveraged by raising equity, and all its business segments are expected to fire going ahead. So I think we will see the drip irrigation business do well, the piping business do well, and the food processing business, which was already doing well, will continue to do well. So as operating leverage kicks in and interest costs reduce, what we will see is that earning growth will be much faster than what people expect. I think it will be more like a J curve. So I think Kunal talked about a 125 kind of price target. I look at this stock as what UPL was 3 years back when it was 100, today it's 700. I believe Jan will follow the same trajectory, and the gains will be much greater.
Okay, that's a view on the fundamentals. Another idea?
The second stock I am looking at is Hindustan Construction. So again, it's a company which is a well known large size mid cap company, but it went into trouble related to the fact that its projects got stalled, receivables from the government again got stuck, and the entire economy went into a tailspin. They have come back now, they had a CDR, debt's been revamped, new arbitration rules are getting in them a lot of liquidity, and the order book today stands at all time highs. So what I see happening here is that the top line growth will accelerate very rapidly from next year. As that happens and as interest costs fall, we will see the earning growth trajectory will be much more rapid. Stock peaked at 150 odd in the last bull cycle, today it's around 35-40. I wouldn't be surprised if it doubles by the time we talk again next year.
Very optimistic views there. Siddharth, we've had a platter of Diwali sweets by all of our experts. What can you add to that?
Yeah, firstly, I would like to eat some of them. I don't have many stocks, but one stock which I'm liking, one is, I won't say it's a fallen angel because the stock has fallen, but I don't know how fairly, it is valued from fundamental perspective. Vocard Pharma is something which I'm liking from a medium to long term perspective. Now, we have seen that how volatile this stock has been, and almost since last 6 to 8 months, this stock has been, moving in a range of 800 on the lower side, 1000, 1050 on the lower side, upper side. And mind you, within this 200 points range, it has done a lot of yo-yoing. I believe this consolidation is happening, and within this consolidation, whenever there has been huge volumes and huge spikes, there is an accumulation which I am sensing which is taking place. Firstly, quoting at around 900 bucks or so, it can move towards 1050, and if it crosses 1050, which I believe it may, you may see substantial upside in this counter. So that would be my pick over a period of 6 months to 9 months.
Okay, there you have it, lots of Diwali picks, but we promised that we'd get a dark horse idea from each of our experts. So let's go in line. Hemang, I have 2 minutes on the clock. We'll start with you.
Yeah, so what we like is the urban consumption theme, and within that there's one company called Aditya Birla Fashions, which is a unique retail play which combines men's brands like Louis Philippe, and Ellen Solon, so on and so forth. At the same time, they have recently acquired Pantaloons, which has presence through brands meant for women like ethnic and casual wear for women. So I think this is one company which has not been doing so well because of the onslaught of competition from the online retail portals. But given the kind of brand presence across categories, across price points, and a good management, we think that from a 1 or 2 years perspective, there could be a decent growth in the revenue, and at that stage you will be able to see the operating leverage kick in a big way. So though at this point of time it is not doing so well in terms of growth and operating profit, but I think 1 or 2 years perspective this is looking quite promising and it can potentially be a multi-bagger.
Okay, Aditya Birla Fashion it is. All of you are looking very dapper today, by the way. What about you, Dr. Narayan?
Well, I'm looking at a stock called HCL Infosystem.
Okay.
I think the story there is based on this Aadhaar, and Aadhaar is supposed to be, solving a lot of problems, particularly across the length and breadth of India. I think any story based on large data, I think will be something for the future. HCL Infosys, if you see on the charts, has beaten down to about 40 levels, sort of repeatedly found supports there, built up huge volumes, and now is yet to take off. Whether it will take off or not is a question. That is why it's a dark horse that we are looking at. But if it does, I think it has the potential to reach up to about 150, 200 levels, which would be a humdinger if it does really come about. Your stop losses are near and your targets are far. So I think that is where I would hitch my tent to.
Okay, HCL Infosystems it is. What about you, Kunal? What's the dark horse that could outperform?
Well, I'm looking at one stock which is Bharat Bijli. Now, the stock has recovered from 2013 lows of 300. Interestingly, I think in the last 1 year, I think somewhere in October, November, I think previous Diwali approximately, it's rallied from 600 to 1000, had a period of correction. This year, the YTD returns are still negative for the same. But I'm sensing that on the longer term time scale, it's now looking at a very similar price pattern or a point which was very similar to what was last year. It rallied from 600 to 1050, 1100 last year, and I'm sensing from current levels of 800 approximately, I think the stock would probably be setting stage for another such a strong rally. Volumes in the last 1 year have been exceedingly good. So this move is backed by very good volumes. It's trading at crucial lows as well. So I believe that from a longer term view, I would be placing my bet on Bharat Bijli with a target of 1500.
Let's hope it lights up the screen. And what about you, Siddharth? What have you picked out?
So I picked Jet Airways one. Though stock had a lot of turbulent times in recent past, we saw a huge move taking place in Jet Airways last year, same period. And after that, stock corrected and it is consolidating. The correction has taken support near 61.8 retracement level on a longer term charts as well. And it has again strong correlation with crude oil prices because that's the maximum constituent in terms of cost, in terms of running an airline. And despite OPEC coming together and talking about cutting down on supply, we haven't seen huge spikes in crude oil prices. Historically, we used to see those kind of spikes, which suggests that this commodity may remain under pressure. And I am anticipating that the significant upside in crude is not likely, and it may again correct back to 45 or sub 45 levels, which would augur well for aviation space. And of course, Jet Airways is also looking strong technically. I'm anticipating that first it might move towards 550 or so and then probably 600 plus level, maybe more, but that's what I'm anticipating right now.
So that is hoping that Jet Airways takes off. So we've had mid-cap IT, fashion, aviation. What is it that you've picked out as the dark horse?
So I'm looking at this company called Action Construction Equipment. So it's got a market capitalization of around 450 crores. So the company did nothing wrong. The macros went against them. So the entire activity in the economy collapsed, and that's why their sales also came off. So it's got a good balance sheet, virtually no long-term debt. So as the construction activity picks up, which is happening already on the ground, especially on the roads and some infrastructure project side, the top line growth should pick up, and the company has a huge operating leverage. So it's a dark horse because it's anticipated recovery. So if the recovery happens, it will be one of the biggest beneficiaries because all its products will go into this activity. So last year it did some 10 odd crores profit. This year it should do around 25 crores profit. And if the activity pans out the way we think, next year could be 50 crores. And if that happens, then the stock could actually do very well.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen, for giving us those ideas. Just going to recap: Aditya Birla Fashion, HCL Infosystems, Bharat Bijli, Jet Airways and Action Construction. And with that, thank you so much for joining in today on Your Diwali Bets, and here's wishing all our viewers a joyous and prosperous Diwali. Thanks for watching.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ET Now Live. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ET Now.